Hi, everyone.
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Tara. Hi. Just gonna wait for Aimee to join. Hi.
Hello. How are
Hi.
you?
How are you? So
Thank
happy to
God.
have you here.
So happy to be here.
Please introduce yourself to the group. Sorry, I'm very nervous, guys. I haven't gone live in a very long time. I always, I always get anxiety right before. So,
Okay, Adasa, first of all, I adore you, and I think that everything that you're doing with Bonei Olam is incredibly important and really meaningful to the entire Jewish fertility community. So anything that I can do to make you feel better about this, like this is going to be easy. This is going to be easy. You are great and you are amazing. So
thank you. You too. My
Um,
gosh.
so I'm Aimee Barron. I am the founder and executive director of I Was Supposed to Have a Baby. And our mission is to support anyone in the Jewish community who is struggling to have a child and to make sure that we connect them to resources on the ground so that they can get the support they need beyond and off of social media, which is why this conversation is so important to me because Bonei Olam is exactly one of those organizations. So I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I've been following you way before Bonei in Florida started. You have been a huge resource for me when I was in the depths of, my despair. And I'm just really honored to have you on here so that everybody can learn from you. And yeah, just very excited.
Look, this is I don't pretend I don't pretend to be the expert who knows all things. I just know as a person also, you and I have both had our fertility challenges. And as someone who now, speaks to thousands of people, I collect people's stories and I try to share advice and suggestions and education and sensitivity in the best way I can and the best way we can as an organization. And so, in whatever way, like by no means is my words definitive are the only answer. They're one slice of this, and so I am happy to give whatever I can to help people.
You're amazing. Really, truly. I don't know how you do it.
Hey, it's
You are
it's all
something.
good. It's all
It's all
good.
good.
So it's all
All
good.
right.
So tell me, what are we doing tonight? What do people want to know?
So we had a bunch of questions, and a lot of people have been reaching out to our Instagram account on how to cope with Pesach coming up. Pesach is, I'm sure you know, a very, very difficult holiday for those struggling with infertility, and we just want to delve into it and explain why. And I'm gonna read through this list, and I'm gonna ask you because you're more of a professional than I am.
Yeah.
Different
I,
type,
that
different type
that
of
me,
professional.
but I was gonna say I don't know wigs, so I'm like beyond like I don't know wigs. But you have a personal piece, and so
Yeah,
people want to hear from you too. So yes.
we'll both share. So let's dive in. The first question is, can you please educate me on why Pesach is the hardest holiday for couples struggling?
Okay, I'm actually gonna throw this back to you for no, just and I will answer, I promise. But
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you,
Yes.
why has Pesach been hard for you?
I remember every year since I've been married at the Pesach Seder, sitting there, sitting around with all my cousins and my family. We all do a huge Seder together. And I would look around and I would say to Shemi, next year we're going to be here with a kid. Next year we're going to be here with a kid. And then eventually it just wasn't happening. And I would just be sitting there and I'm like, who am I telling this Pesach story to? Why am I here? What's the point? And it was very difficult. And this holiday revolves around children. The whole essence of the holiday is sit down at the Seder table, read this book, and tell your children and make them ask questions. Another thing that was really difficult for me was I'm Lebanese. So as Lubavitcher, every single kid has to make Kiddush. So I would sit there and listen to 10 different children say Kiddush. And the same thing with Manishtana. It would just, be on repeat. So for me, that's why Pesach is a really hard holiday. But
Yeah, I mean, I think that you just touched on like three different areas. Number one is that every year, like what you said, every year that it's this moment in time where you remember where you were last year and you think about like the coming years. It's this the Pesach Seder is one of those things. I meant to pull up the statistic and I didn't. So if somebody knows it, please drop it in the chat, in the comments. There is a statistic that says that an overwhelming percentage of Jews worldwide, whether you're affiliated or not affiliated, will attend a Pesach Seder. Forget about whether it's one or whether it's two, whether you're in Israel or whether you're not in Israel, but the overwhelming majority of people will attend a Pesach Seder. So that means it's even more than like Rosh Hashanah, going to shul on Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. People will attend a Pesach Seder, which means that this is a moment in time for so many people, religious or not religious, that they kind of like this is the way they connect to their Judaism. This is the way people connect. And we also remember it's this idea of like, oh, last year, all of these people were at the table, but these people couldn't come. But remember that year when this one came and this one came and this one came. And then we're also thinking ahead that like, oh, right, next year when these people are here and we have there, and then we're going to be doing it here. Everybody's thinking forwards, backwards, and everybody's thinking forwards. And so for people like us, and I'm going to say it us because you and I have been in these shoes, the Pesach Seder is this reminder that we hoped we were going to be in a different place this coming year, that we were going to finally sit at the table and either we were going to be, we would have a belly or that we would have a baby in our arms. And when that doesn't happen, it's devastating. And then also to look around the room and look around the table and see all of the other people who have moved on with their lives, who have gotten to different stages, and you still feel stuck in the same spot, so to speak.
yeah.
So I think that that's really one of the biggest reasons why people find Pesach really hard. The second piece is just this notion. Remind me about Pesach. I was like trying to remember what you said. I should have written it down, so you'll remind me if I forget. But this idea, there's a specific concept on Pesach that we're supposed to be teaching the Pesach story, the Passover story, to our family, to our children, over and over again. It's constantly like we're constantly told you have to teach the story to your children. Like there are classes, there are shiurim about how you can make the Seder fun for kids, how to make it more interactive, how to make it more enjoyable, how to get them to stay up late, the different tricks and tips about how to do all these things. But what if you're not in that place? What if you desperately want to be in that place? And you're just trying to get through the Seder because it's so triggering. So
Yeah.
it's like another piece. And I think the third thing, remind me what the third thing was. Remind me what you said.
It was the Manishtana and the Kiddush.
Right, the Kiddush.
You
Right,
have to
and
sit there.
yes,
You have to
yes,
sit through that.
and sitting, right,
Yeah.
sitting and watching all the little kids do all the things and knowing that you don't have a child yet to
Yeah.
add to that list. Yeah, I mean, we could go on. There are a
Yeah, there's
million
so many.
reasons why Pesach is hard, but those are definitely three big ones.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's definitely rough. Um,
Yeah.
Thank you for answering that. So the next question is, how do couples facing infertility cope with the emotions of Pesach? So it can either be how can couples facing infertility cope, or really how the question really is how do they deal with it? How do people who are struggling just deal with this every other year? It's really not just Pesach.
Right.
It's sorry, my dog is bothering me 1 second.
It's all good. It's all good. It's
Yeah.
all good.
So the question can really be on how do the couples of cope? He's back. Okay.
Right. Right. So I think that there are a couple of different ways. I think, let's first just take the idea of Pesach itself and the fact that it's an 8-day
Yeah.
holiday. And often it's just this, like, everybody descends on, one place or two place, whether you split and go to in-laws or you go to other family or you go here, friends, whatever it is, but that it's this massive holiday. And here, and specifically this year, because if you're not in Israel, it's a 3-day yontif. And so that means there are 3 days that you're forced to spend with whatever family or whatever situation that you're in. So it's 3 days. So number one, there's no escape. Like when you're any yontif, and this is not only Pesach, but this is every yontif, right? When
Yeah.
you've decided, okay, you're going to these people for yontif, there's no escape. You've decided you're going to be there, and you can't leave.
Yeah.
You can't leave. There are ways
And
to
when you don't
manage
have
it.
kids, when you don't have kids, you're not really going to be opting to stay home usually. Usually there's no reason, it's very lonely. So majority of the time people without kids are going away and staying by people.
Correct.
So you're right. There's really no way out.
Correct. There's no way out. I'm going to actually qualify that and say there are some people, absolutely, and people that I know, people that have messaged us, and people that we counsel also, and we say, you're going to be in this specific situation. You're not going to be able to leave, and it's going to be too much for you for whatever reason. Then choose something else. Then choose something
Yeah.
else. So is that like alone? Like maybe you go to a hotel. Like,
Hmm.
okay, not everyone can afford it. So let's just,
Right.
I'm just putting the finances piece aside for a second. I'm just throwing out options. Maybe you go to a hotel and you're surrounded by other people. You're just not surrounded by your people. So you're not alone. Maybe you, like I've heard from many, I shouldn't say many, but I've heard from a number of different families where the husbands um, were hired out to communities to run seders or to
Hmm.
run like run davening, and so they're not with their families and they're in a separate community that knows nothing about them whatsoever, and even there they're going to be alone. They have a job and it's something to distract them, so they're not feeling like, oh, Nabach, it's me, I'm just staying home alone.
Right.
And then a separate, even a third option, people who have a group of friends. And, lots of people don't have family to go to for whatever reason. Bale
Hmm.
tshuva, people are alienated from their families. There are like converts, whatever it is. Like there are a lot of people who don't necessarily have someone to go to for Pesach. And oftentimes people find each other. Like people tend to connect with people that are
Yeah.
like them, and they make seders and they make Pesach together. So there are definitely options, but it's not for everyone. And it's a majority of people, let's
Yes.
call it's just not. So 3-day yontif, hard.
Yeah.
Spend and spending 8 days with someone, or 3-day yontif and then you go back home, and then maybe you go somewhere else the second
For
days,
another 2 day
hard.
on this.
Right. And then on top of all this, like let's call it, like this is not a regular like 3-day yontif or a regular, like if you're gonna choose to stay home or be home even for the Chol Moed days, it means that you're also cleaning and preparing at home in
Yeah.
addition to packing and going away. So it's like people say for Pesach, like either you stay home and you clean and you stay home, or you
Right.
pack so that you're not cleaning and so you go away. I mean, there are definitely people who choose to do both,
We're
but
doing both.
adding both is like it's it's pretty insane. This is a hard holiday, even taking away the fertility pieces.
Exactly.
Yeah. Tell
There's
me,
so
tell
much to it.
tell me more. Tell me more about what you're thinking.
I mean, we're going away for second days and we're home for first days. We actually opted to. I've been wanting to do a friend Seder. Honestly, I just think it's fun. Why not drink wine with friends? Why does it have to do with family?
Totally.
I happen to live around the corner from my family, so I do spend a lot of time with them. And I figured, you know what? If there's young couples staying home, let's get together and let's make a Seder. So it turns out that's actually what we're doing for one of them.
Amazing.
I'm
Amazing.
very excited, and I'm hosting some meals. I'm not, I'm not one to make myself a martyr. Like it is hard as it is, and I don't want to be depressed about it. I don't want to be sad about it. I love my nephews. I love I mean, my sister just had a baby girl, so she's very new, but I love her too. And it's very different for me. I try really hard not to be depressed about it, but throughout the years, when times were really tough, and I was obviously in the depths of infertility, it was very hard for me. I had a really hard time, and I wasn't in a place where I could just stay home and do my own thing. So I
Right.
definitely,
I'm hearing so many of these pieces from different people who want to go home because that's safe, that's comfortable, but they're worried about going home because they're not sure what people are going to say. They're not sure how people are going to react. They're not sure if,
yeah,
like, some of the other pieces, just in terms of being with friends or, excuse me, being with family that makes it difficult is when you're the one without kids or you're the one that doesn't have as many kids, then what that means is you're often like forced, so to speak, to like you're doing more of the cleaning, you're
yeah,
doing more of the cooking, you're doing more of the like straightening up, you're doing more of the like, oh, she's so tired, can you just watch the kids for a little while? Like you're doing more of the other stuff that that the people with children or with young children or those who are pregnant, like everybody kind of gives them a pass.
yeah,
And because you don't, then you end up like feeling like not only do you feel bad about your situation, but you're also forced to work more, and people just like assume that you just have this life of luxury and of leisure, and so therefore you're coming home and like all you want to do, or that not that all you want to do, but that you you should have all this time because you're not getting up in the middle of the night with a baby, and you should
right.
like want to help, and you should want to take a turn, and you should want to like help in the kitchen when no one else is. So it's
And
there are
even if
these.
they don't say that, they don't always say it. I mean, I know my family does not say that to me, but sometimes I feel like I should
Yes.
overextend myself, and I should, I do have more time, so maybe I should help, maybe I should do more. It's, there's a really fine line between them saying it and them not saying it, because regardless, we still feel obligated to do more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have a bunch of suggestions about how to manage these pieces, but I want to make sure we hit all of the different pain points
Okay,
first.
so let me write that down
Okay. Good.
so that we
Somebody's
don't
writing
forget.
something down here. See, somebody's doing it. I think, by the way, if anybody has any questions, like please drop them, drop
Yeah,
them here
feel
always.
free to
We're
type
gonna
them up.
try to we're gonna try to answer them. I'm just looking here now. But if anybody has any questions, just drop them here.
So then, well, I mean, we did discuss this a little bit, but does the mitzvah of telling over the story of mitzvahs who have either,
Um, Not a rabbi, not a rebbitzin.
I hoped you
Yes,
would have an answer.
yes. I, I, I,
You know what?
I, look, is there, okay, let's take a step back. I'm not answering this from a halakhic standpoint. I'm going to
Okay.
answer this in a different way. A lot of people talk about Mitzrayim. They talk about Egypt as like, that was the period that we were in slavery. And there's a lot to think about in regard to any fertility journey and the of it. Like, this is hard. This makes you feel like you're enslaved to trying
Yeah.
to have a baby, whether it's, the fertility treatments or thinking about the fertility treatments and what is it going to look like? And are we going to try? Are we not going to try? We are trying. We're getting pregnant. We're not getting pregnant. The appointments, how do we schedule the appointments? Are we going to have enough money to pay for it? I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. And so, in terms of like, is there an obligation to talk about Mitzrayim? I feel like all of you out there living Mitzrayim on some
Yeah.
level. And I think you think about Mitzrayim on a daily basis. Like there is also this concept, right, that we're also supposed to think about Mitzrayim on a daily basis.
Right.
We do mention it at different parts of our
Yeah.
davening. So I think that, you know, the question I have more is how can we find freedom? How can we find a piece that, pieces of this holiday, which talks so much about slavery and Hashem bringing out of Mitzrayim, how can we find pieces of this that relate to us and feel that we're elevated also from the slavery, that we're feeling a little bit lighter after this holiday, which is so heavy in so many ways. So, I mean, I think I think having these kinds of discussions is actually the first way to do it and the biggest way to do it. Because if we talk about how hard it is and we talk about the pieces that people are dealing with and the emotions, then that means that we're not scared anymore, that this is not something that has to be
Yes.
hidden. This is not something that's a secret. Like,
Nope.
yes, obviously there's a difference between privacy and secrecy. People can be private about where they are in their treatments or what exactly they're doing right at that moment. But the conversation on a communal level that we are having right now, that's really what we're doing, that there are people out there that struggle and what can we do to support them? I think that that's the first way that all of us as a community can think about how to elevate and bring ourselves out of slavery. We know people who are struggling and it's our job to support them. And so that's what you and I are doing here.
100%. I feel very free when I speak freely about this.
Right.
Once I started speaking about it, I actually 100% felt free. I was afraid to speak about it because I didn't want to be the poster child of infertility. And here I am. But once I shared my story, I was like, whoa, I'm free now. No one's going to look at my stomach anymore. No one's going to look at me and have expectations of me anymore. I'm free. I'm free to do what I want,
Right.
you know?
Right. I think
So
that
you're right.
there is a lot of power in telling of the story. And everyone I know who has decided to go public, whatever way, like sometimes even just going public is just telling people in their family. Like sometimes people
Yes.
don't even share with people in their family. um, Find the people, like there are different levels of sharing, right? Find the people that you think are safe, whether that's one person, whether that's your family, whether that's Instagram, whether that's public, whether, whatever it is. But
Whatever you're
find,
comfortable with.
right, right,
Hmm.
find the people that you're comfortable with and share because the more you share, the more people will be able to help you and they'll be able to give you some support and comfort. We can't read people's minds, like,
Right.
right? We don't know what people are going
No,
through unless we tell them.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
That was awesome. So this is from a follower who wrote, do I let all my feelings out on the table and let my younger sister-in-laws and sisters know how hard it is for me during each meal and Seder, or should I just save it for my therapist and talk to her after Pesach and keep it all inside? I don't know what's the right thing to do or how to act. So this is
Uh,
for,
Go ahead. What do you think, Hadassah?
it really depends. I'm saying if your family members are toxic, do not talk to them about this because they're just going to make it worse. If they're not toxic and they're there for you and they're amazing for you and they want to make you feel comfortable, then definitely share it with them. Discuss how to go about the Seder so that nobody makes you feel left out. I think that's the easiest way once everything's out on the table and you discuss it prior to the situation. That's usually the easiest. No one will get hurt. But also, if I go into the Seder having expectations and then someone does something to hurt me and I never even mentioned it to them, then it's kind of on me, right?
Totally. I mean, I think, going back to the whole,
Yeah,
like, people can't read your minds, right?
exactly.
Um, I like she gave two very specific like
Yes.
ends of the spectrum of like, should
Should
I
I?
wait and tell my therapist or should I like let it all out on the table?
Yeah.
And like there is totally a middle ground here, right? Like there like well, first of all, always talk to your
Yes.
therapist. Like therapy is good, therapy is great. Always talk to your therapist. So that we're definitely doing regardless. Talk to
Yeah.
your therapist before, talk to your therapist maybe during,
During.
maybe you need it during Holomoid also, and
Yeah.
definitely talk to your therapist afterwards. So yes, 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 and yes to therapy. Um, should you let everything out right at the table in the middle of everything? I'm gonna say no. Um, I agree with Adasa, like never a good thing. Like, look, sometimes things come up and you can't predict necessarily what people are going to say and sometimes things are triggering. And I think then you have an opportunity. You have choices at that point. You can either address them here and there and say, that's not something that I feel comfortable talking about, or that really upset me for whatever reason. So you can address them. You can say, actually, I just feel like a migraine is coming on and I need to leave.
I'm gonna go to sleep now.
Like, I'm out, like, gotta go.
I've done that
Because
so many times.
I've done it plenty of times too, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole like faking a stomach virus or a migraine. Like
Yes.
it's called like lying for the sake of your own mental health. And also like let's also talk about how it's also saving some shell and bias pieces. Like
Yes.
there's
Oh
definitely a
my
shell and
gosh.
bias
Yes.
component to it. So I don't like when I say lying, I really don't even mean lying. What I really mean is you're taking yourself out of a situation so that it doesn't explode. And there's a lot of power and godless in that. And I think that that's something that needs to be, people need to view that as an option.
Yeah.
Um, or there is exactly what you said. There is the talk to the people in your family who you know you can talk with, who are your safe people. Talk to them beforehand. Say, hey, um, when you know your nephew, when Chaim, um, constantly runs around the table and he's like making a mess of all things and interrupting people as they're trying to like get things, blah, blah, blah. Like that's really hard for me. Um, and so I'm telling you, like, I'm not saying that Chaim can't do what he does and like blah, 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 but I'm telling you that I may need to take a moment and take a break at a certain points because it might get to be too much. And I'm not trying to offend you. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm
Exactly.
just letting you know what's going on and how I'm feeling. And I like all those things can happen before, right? Instead
Yeah.
of you like slamming the table and you're like I'm out. Like,
Exactly.
like
Like if
not a
I
good
want to
thing.
leave because I'm hungry,
Right. Exactly.
don't judge me. Let
Exactly.
me be. If I want to go take a walk in the middle of the Seder,
Totally.
let me be, you know?
Totally. Totally. Totally.
So,
So that there are ways to communicate to your family members before, before you get there, or even like during the day, like, on Wednesday, like, hey, I'm going to need to take a walk at some point. I'm not going to be able to make it the whole time. I'm going to need X, Y. Like, tell your safe person what you need so that then
right.
that person actually can be your advocate and like can be like, hey, she's like, don't worry about her. She'll be fine. She'll be back in a minute. Like
Exactly.
that. So
Yes.
they can go to bat for you. Like that's what you want. You want that person to be there
Yeah.
for you. And that's definitely the best way to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. You definitely don't want to leave and have them all freaking out. Oh my gosh, did we do something wrong? Did we offend her? No.
Totally. Totally.
Exactly.
Totally. And then also like everybody's left cleanup and then it's awkward the next day and it's like
Exactly.
and you're
And there's
stuck
two.
there.
There's
Right.
two.
And then you're stuck there for 2 days or 3 days or
Exactly.
whatever it is. That's the problem. You're all stuck there. So
Yeah,
you
you definitely don't
have to
want drama.
no drama. You have to try to figure it out beforehand. Try, try, try. Yeah.
And that goes for everything, not even just infertility. Singles, people with kids who are a
Yes.
little different.
Yes. All things. All things.
All
It
things.
definitely all things.
Communication is key.
Key. Key, key,
Um,
key. Definitely.
the next question is from a family member. How to treat family members who are struggling during the Seder and meals.
Letting them get up from the table when they need and not
Exactly.
talking about them after they
Let
leave.
them be. Let them be. Yeah, really, I think really just including them, not making it awkward. We want to be included. We're not trying to be different. My situation isn't me, you know. Don't look at me funny when everyone's doing Manishtana. Like, let me be. Um,
You know what? I just realized, hold on, let me
yeah,
turn off my notifications. Okay, go. Keep
yeah,
while I'm
yeah. What else can I recommend for how to treat the family members who are struggling during the Seder and meals? I really think it's just space. Give them space. Let me do my. I'm very into doing my own thing. You know, I just kind of disappear. I do my own thing. Sometimes it bothers people, but I really don't care because if something is going to affect my mental health, I'm going to walk out rather than sit there and then have to deal with my own mental breakdown
right.
afterwards. So I like to do what's best for me. And sometimes, unfortunately, it does offend people. And there's nothing I can do. They have to respect me,
Right.
just like I
Right.
have to respect them.
Right. I think that the the kinds of things that we were talking about before. So the, not asking them to babysit, not asking them to
No.
clean up and cooking all the time, giving them space in the same way that you give anybody else space, letting them nap in the same way everybody else wants to nap, letting them take a walk and go out in the same way that everybody else wants to do that. Like treat them exactly like everybody else.
Yeah.
That's like the first and foremost. The second thing I like to share is that often when there's these like big family get-togethers, and especially on Yantif, like the grandparents or some members of the family like to give gifts to the kids. Like we're like, oh, we got
Oh,
you, like everybody gets new pajamas, matching pajamas, or everybody gets like a bracelet or something that they like, everybody gets something. And the couple that doesn't have any children or the couple that doesn't have as many children often feels left out because they're not getting that gift in the same way. Or like I'll give you another example. Like sometimes what people do is they like specifically will give like they'll make like 15 potato kugels and give it out to different members of the family, like the ones specifically that have more kids, like you get two and you get this, but like the ones who are just it's by themselves, like they get like the small potato kugel or they don't get potato kugel at all, right? Like I know this, like this is not Pesach, but like on challahs, like I know a lot of families where the grandmother makes tons of challahs and she gives it out and like doesn't give to the single person, doesn't give to the person who doesn't have children. And so I so that concept is wrong. If you're
but
going
it's
to
so
give,
complex.
right,
Like, I
it's
don't need 10 challahs.
no,
You
of
know what I
course
mean?
no, but you
Yeah.
need a
I
challah. But you
need
need a
one. Yes.
challah, right?
Yes.
And you want so
100%.
number one, you need a challah, and you should have a challah. If everybody else is getting a challah, you should have a challah too.
Yes.
And if everybody, like, let's say you have, I don't know your family. Like, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
disclaimer, I don't know who your
Go
family, I
for
don't know your
it.
family, but like, if there are people in your family and this one has three kids and this one has four and everyone's getting, pajamas or a new seder, whatever. I'm saying pajamas, like the kids are getting matching pajamas and you're not getting pajamas. So then there should be another, as a grandparent, as someone who is thinking about the people in your family who are not married yet, the people in your family who don't have kids or the number of kids, like give the mother a gift. Give the father a gift. Like make sure they have a gift also to let them know that you also care about them, even though they don't have the little pajamas, right? So just these like very simple but mindful ways that you're including everyone as opposed to only giving to the people with kids. Like that's like
Right.
things like that. Things like that.
But then, can't it be funny? I'm just putting it out there.
Totally.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
Totally.
Like,
Do it. Do
what
it.
if, because, I'm sure other people are thinking the same thing. What if they give something to the people with kids, and then let's say they give a gift to me? Probably something a little more substantial because you're not going to get me a pair of pajamas to match the kids. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then what about the other siblings?
The
It's
other
really tricky.
meaning the other siblings, right? So
Yeah, it's tricky. Just
it's
get everyone something.
correct. So
It's
all
tough.
I'm saying is
Yeah.
whatever you're doing, and that's bringing up a great point. Like whatever
Yeah.
you're doing, you want it to be equal. You want to
Yes.
make sure that no one is walking away feeling like, oh, mommy didn't give me X. Like
Right.
everybody else got it, but I didn't get it. Like,
Or, by the way, they can totally do it without me around.
right, right. But then it's gonna come out. Like it'll come
Right.
out. So maybe
That's
it'll come out anyway. So yeah, yeah,
that's true.
yeah. Um,
It's really tricky. It's
I'm
really a fine line.
totally. I'm going to give a couple other suggestions,
Yeah.
just things that have come up over the years that I've kind of like compiled in my head about ways to deal with Yontif. So if you can, when you're going away and you're going to family, number one, obviously you're getting your own room, but ideally, if you can have a room, if there's no other house for you to go to, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, if there's no other place where you can stay, and everyone's staying in one big house, then make sure at least that maybe you're in the basement and you're not on the same levels like with everybody else and all the screaming
Yeah.
kids and whatever, like that you have your own really private space. Better than that would be like just like, your sister Hani who has five kids and she can't stay in your parents' house because she needs more space and she gets a house, like why can't also you get a house or you get a separate apartment or you get like
Yeah.
you should try like try to advocate for private space for yourself because you're going to need it too. You're going to need a safe space to go to when things get too bad, when you get triggered, when it becomes too much, you're going to need that also. So that's an idea that I've had lots of people talk about over the years. Another thoughts about that, Hadassah? What do you think?
No, I, I like it. I think it's I think it's all good. You need your own space.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not.
definitely.
It's
Uh,
true.
Other ideas, um, Hadassah already mentioned, like get out, take a walk,
Make
go,
plans
like if you're make other plans, right? Like don't
and
why
let the
just
people
because
know. By the way, I'm probably going to be here, or I'm
exactly
probably gonna. I made plans to go for a walk, just because you never want them to get offended. You never want them to worry and to feel like they offended
right,
you. Just make plans,
right.
or don't, and say you made plans.
Exactly. Or like, what if you're going to a place where you know a bunch of people? So invite yourself out for a meal.
Exactly,
Like
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 Orlando. Go to
right,
Friends.
right. Exact or anywhere. Like
Yeah,
I'm sure like if you're going to a community where lots of people are around, then find other meals so it doesn't become too overwhelming with your own family.
yeah,
Um, and I think another great idea is just, we also have this concept of buying ourselves something new for Yantif, or our
yeah,
husbands buy ourselves something new for Yantif. Like buy yourself something new. Like and more
yeah,
than one something. Like a piece of jewelry and a dress or two dresses. Like make sure that you feel good about coming into Yantif. You may not have a baby or you may not have a belly, but maybe you have X, whatever the X is. I don't know what that is, but something that feels great for you. Like some people like jewelry, some people like dresses, some people like shoes, some people like they want their sheetles to be done a certain way. Okay, it's a little bit late to get your sheetles done a certain way if you
right.
haven't thought about it already. I recognize that, fine, but I'm just giving
You can
general
still buy a
ideas.
little
Like
something. You could
totally,
buy a board game, buy a good book, buy
totally,
a candle, buy a new cream,
exactly,
buy a
exactly.
perfume, new mascara,
Exactly,
whatever,
exactly,
something.
exactly.
A
And books,
robe.
like totally, totally, totally. And books are another key thing. Like make sure you have stacks of books. 3 days
Yeah,
are really long. 2 days are really long. Don't use this as a time that like you're gonna slog through like that safe fair that you were trying to get through. Like this is a time that you need distraction. So whatever it is, everybody has different things, whether it's these magazines or whether it's this novel or that kind of novel, like whatever it is, like, but make sure you have enough to read because you don't want to be digging and like not have something and like then you don't have ways to distract yourselves. Make sure you have enough to read. And you can go out and buy more on Holomoe. That's the key. So it's great.
exactly. You have 2 days this
Exactly.
year.
2.5 days. What are you talking about? 2.5. And if you're in Israel, you have
Not
way
enough.
more. And if you're in Israel, it's way more. So two and a
It's
half.
true.
Don't take away the half day.
It's true.
Okay.
Um, so the next question is, what do couples facing infertility need from their community during Pesach?
They need you not to look at their stomachs.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Um, I mean, is there really anything else? Of course there is, but like,
No, I mean, I'll speak
so
for myself. Like, we want to be
please.
included. Sometimes sometimes I do feel uncomfortable hosting friends who have a lot of kids. I'm just not used to it. I love them. I think it's great. I'm not used to having a lot of kids in my house. I have a dog, so they can totally play with my dog, but it's not it's not easy for me. For me to host people with kids is a whole conversation. It's a thought process. It's what are we going to do? Do I need to make special food for the kids? And I try my best to include everybody and to do whatever I can for them. But we do want to be included. We do want to have couples with a bunch of kids, but it is hard. So if I don't invite, don't be offended. Um, and if you want to have me, definitely invite me. And I'm just speaking for myself, but I'm sure I'm speaking for others
Yep.
also.
Yep.
We're not outcasts. The same way you would invite singles, you can invite us. The same way you'd invite your friends with kids, invite us. Or don't, but
Right.
just be normal. You
Right.
know,
Correct.
we just want to
And I think
be normal.
correct. And I think the key with the invitations is that, you know, people can say no. If they're not up
Yeah,
for it for whatever reason, maybe they're going through treatments, maybe they're not emotionally ready to be up at meals or whatever it is, they can say no. But they're never going to know that you were thinking of them unless you actually invite them.
yeah,
So I think that that's the first thing that you can do is exactly what Hadassah said. Like, always include, always invite, and give them the option to say no. Don't presume that, oh, well, I'm having this big meal and I'm sure they're not going to want to come. Ask them.
Yeah.
Ask them.
Also, infertils make the best guests because they're only two people. So it's true. We're not trashing your house.
No, it's I think the other piece that I think that communities or in general people can do is I want to know what you feel about this, Hadassah. What do you think about like the I'm thinking about you messages? Like knowing that Pesach is a hard time, do you like them or do you not like them? So
No, I
some
hate
people,
them.
yeah, okay,
I
tell me.
hate
Tell me. Tell
them.
me.
I
Tell
do
me.
not like it. Unless I speak to you often and I've, shared with you that I'm uncomfortable and I'm stressed about Pesach. If you are that person that I speak to, you can send me the message. If I don't speak to you ever, or if I speak to you once a year, don't randomly shoot me a text saying, "Hey, I know this is a hard holiday. You know, I'm thinking of you." I
Don't
will just look at it
don't.
and be like, "We don't talk. What is going on?" I'll be a little bit confused.
Right. Right. So
You
I
know?
think that it definitely cuts both ways because I know people who feel exactly the same way that Hadassah does,
Yeah.
where like they only want to hear from the people that are their people and they don't want to hear from anyone else. And then there are others who say that even just that, like, you're not going out of your way to call them and you're not going out of the way of saying, hey, I know it's really hard now. How are you doing? Like, you're not doing that. But the text is like this middle ground of like, you know, hey, I just want to let you know I'm thinking about you. And you don't need to respond. I'm just thinking about you. And some people really like that because it lets people know that that they're thinking about you and it gives you like a little bit of a warm and fuzzy. But again,
Right.
like
It depends on the person. I'm the kind of person who's like, why are you thinking about me? I'm not a nebuch. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I'm not a sad case. What's going on? Unless
yeah,
I happen to have just gone through something. It's just it feels sometimes for me it'll feel random,
yeah.
you know?
And I think it's this is Rifki who's putting in the comment. She's like in shul on Yom Tov, people will be like, "Ay, what's your Tehillim name? I want to have you, blah blah blah." It's nice, but that's awkward, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the like in your face, like, "Oh, soon by you." Like,
Also at a
can I
random
daven for
time.
you?
It's also at
Yeah,
a
like
time that doesn't make sense. Like I'm
correct,
here enjoying shul, having a good time, and you're coming over to me and saying, "Hey, what's your name? I
right,
want to daven for you."
right.
Time and place.
Yeah, I think actually it's funny. I was literally it almost feels like I'm manifesting her because I just saw her pop up. Nami, I
Hi,
literally your name
Nami.
was Nami, your name was literally about to come out of my mouth. I was gonna say for all of you who there who haven't seen Nami's video, Nami's reel that she put up last night about like, rent a man on
What? I didn't
to
see that.
oh you didn't see it. Oh my
What?
God. Oh my God, it's amazing.
I
Okay,
have
so
to see it.
basically what she did in this reel is she now we're going to get like everybody leaving to go watch Nummy's reel and then come
Yeah.
back. Okay, guys, stay here
It's
now and
okay.
then you can go back.
I'll post
But
it after.
yeah, but what she did is she said like anyone who's single out there so you can avoid that awkward conversation around the Seder table so you can avoid the people at shul who come up to you and say new what's going on
Oh
like
my
so it's
God.
1-800 rent a man and like for 19.99 a day we'll let you blah 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 anyway it's hysterical all of you would need to go see it don't all jump off now blah blah
You're
blah
amazing, Nami.
um totally amazing but yeah this like you'll like standing around in shul is this awkward time of people are like, oh, how are you? How's everything going? So new. Like, no, just no,
Not the
just
place.
no. Right,
I just want
right.
to put it out there that I do randomly share things on my Instagram. So if you text me thinking about you after I share something, it's okay. I'm not upset. I just want to put that out there. That's totally cool. But if it's super random and I don't know, on a random Tuesday and I haven't spoken to you in a year, don't send me that text. It's just
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, yeah. I'll just throw in another piece just because it's relevant for today. I had someone
Yeah.
message me saying that she had two people in the last 24 hours ask her to be kfater.
Oh,
One of whom is a friend. The other one is like someone who she like barely knows. And she's like, I don't even understand that. Like the friends we're going to put aside just for a second. But speaking to your point of like the people who you don't really talk to at all, who are then saying like, oh, I'm thinking about you. Or the people who you don't talk to at all who are saying, hey, do you want to be kvater? Like it's just
Wait,
cringe.
let's
Like,
just explain what kvater is.
go ahead.
Kvater is basically when somebody has a baby boy and at their bris, they ask a couple who's struggling with infertility to hold the baby and pass the baby to the moel.
They presume is struggling. Nobody
Right,
knows if you're struggling or not. The
right. So that's the
presumption.
correct. So there's apparently a segula that if you do that, that if a couple struggling with infertility does that, they will get pregnant. Okay. So I'm sure it works for some. I've done it maybe 7 times. Has not worked. So I mean, I'm not going to get into the segulas and my opinions on them, but but we could
No,
talk about the kvater
no.
thing because that's a really hard.
Right.
It's hard.
And we will
Yeah.
have a discussion about that, not on the Pesach and infertility
Yeah.
talk, but because you were mentioning the
Yeah.
like the person who randomly
Yeah.
messages you, so I just had to throw that in there.
No, it's true. If I have nothing to do with you, I actually also got asked to be kvater today. It's really
Okay.
funny.
Okay. Like,
It's you know
not
what?
the person. The person who messaged me does not live in your neighborhood, so it's not
No,
the
no,
same
no.
person.
I think that we're actually doing them a favor at this point. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, we'll get into that another time,
yeah,
but it's a funny topic.
totally,
Next
totally.
question. Oh, we spoke about this one actually, about being invited out.
Yep,
Yes, we do.
yep,
How can couples facing infertility use the holiday to focus on their own self-care? We did kind of talk about that too,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. Do you have any other ideas? Something that we didn't bring up?
Do your own thing. Really, just do your own thing. Plan walks. I mean, I live in Miami, so it's really nice here. I'm going to be here for first days. I will be sitting outside enjoying the beautiful weather. And I have plans to hang out with some friends. I have plans to host some meals, to go out. That's what I'm doing for my own self-care. I bought some books and what else?
Yeah,
That's pretty much it.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
very
this is
personal.
yeah,
Self-care is very, very
yeah,
personal. For me, it's if I'm bored on Yontif, I like to hang out with people. That I find very difficult. On Yontif and Shabbos, if I'm alone, that makes me depressed. So I try to make plans. I try to hang out with people. My sister lives down the block. I go hang out with her all the time. She actually has kids, and I love them. So I go hang out with them. They're very entertaining, but that's me. A lot of people will not like that.
right.
That's why it's really just very personal. Have a dog for self care. Do not have a dog for self care. They're crazy.
No, right. I think you're 1,000% right that this is self-care is very individual.
Mhm.
Um, this is a hard holiday. All holidays are hard. An average Wednesday can also just be
It's true.
hard. It is, this is about people, people tapping into what they need, self-care, for you, being outside and just sitting on the beach or being with people could be bliss, and for someone else could be like the worst thing ever,
Right.
right? This is about tapping into what you need and what's speaking to you at the moment. I mean, and also people need different things. Like sometimes like you may want to be with people and sometimes you don't want to be
Yeah.
with people. So I think just like really tapping into what your body and what is feeling right for you at that moment, that's what you should be doing. And to try to do
Yeah.
as much of that as possible, knowing that there's so much else about this holiday that is scripted that you cannot choose. You have to show up for Seder, right? You have to
Yeah.
go through X number of things. You have to like show up for meals. There's so like you have to eat a certain amount of matzah. You have to. There's a lot of have tos. There's also a lot of things that you can't do, obviously.
Right.
So within the boundaries of the things that you can do, that you can choose those for you that fill you. Personally, for me, I don't go to shul like
Ooh.
almost ever, because that for me is my self-care. Sleeping late, I don't sleep enough during the week because I'm working, trying to support as many of you as possible and running this organization. And so I need my sleep, and I also need like my alone time. Like I don't want to have to smile and talk to people. I just like need to be by myself. And when I was going through all of my fertility stuff, I also didn't go to shul. So I
Yeah.
find that like the pieces I know already what nurtures me, and I do that. Find the things that nurture you.
Yes. Totally. Totally agree. Next question. I do feel like we answered this, but I'm just gonna say it anyway. For
Yeah, yeah.
those who are triggered by Pesach for whatever reason that may be, what are some coping mechanisms to help manage it all? Self-care.
Self-care, self-care,
I mean, how
self-care.
how would you respond to somebody who says something that is extremely insensitive at the Seder, for example, or at your family, um, at shul, or at a family meal, or just on an average Tuesday, I guess we
I,
can.
I, I'm going to throw it back to you. How do you respond? Sorry, I know I'm annoying.
It really depends on the place I am in life. I'm being
Right.
completely honest with you. If I am
Yeah.
going through treatment and I am on medication,
Yeah.
do not expect a nice response from me. Don't.
Yeah.
I will fight back.
Yeah.
And then the person who says the stupid comment will feel very stupid. But I'll do that or I'll just ignore. You know, how many times can I be asked how many kids I have? Which school do I send my kids to? You know, when
Right.
are you having
Right.
kids? Are you going to do treatment again? You know, so really, like I said, it really depends where I stand and where I am in life. Because sometimes I'll be like, "How dare you ask such a
Right.
question?" Or sometimes I'll say, "Listen, when I'm ready, I'll do it." It really depends on my
Right.
emotional state.
Right.
But
Right. I think that's so many people say exactly that. The emotional state of where you're holding at that moment. I think it also depends, and tell me if I'm wrong. I know for me it also depended on like where you actually caught me. Like, did you catch me like outside of shul in front of everyone? Did you catch me like
yeah,
when I'm by myself? Did you catch me as I'm running an errand and I'm in the grocery store? Like, where did you catch me when you're asking this like crazy impertinent question? So that'll also depend. Like, I may just say, like, leave me alone, I'm not talking to you right now. Or I may just say, like, I gotta run. Sorry. I you know, can't do that on Yantif.
right.
We had a live actually a while ago. It might even been like around a year ago with Hani Hassis. I'm like her name, her handle is Sheba something. I can't
Oh,
never,
yeah.
you know who I'm talking
She's a
about.
wig. She's
Yeah,
also a hair
she's a
person. Yeah,
Chasel's
yeah,
person,
yeah,
correct?
yeah.
And she said that she used to answer these kinds of questions and like in the well, why do you want to know? Or
Ooh, I like
that's an
that.
int yeah, I like which is like this really mild mannered like it's like but it has this zing, right? Like
Yeah,
it gets to the heart of the matter and it makes people take a step back, but it's not rude. It's just like, why do you want to know? And so it makes them think. And I just love that. She had a couple of other ones. They were um that that's really a personal question. I'm not comfortable answering that, right? Or like, hold on, I'll think of the other one. The it was um, personal question, private. Why do you want to know? Um, oh, I don't remember the other one. There's one more. I'll afterwards I'll message it to you and you can put it up. But I think it like gets these kinds of things. We did a live with her. I can actually I'll post it up and I'll link it. I'll
yeah,
share it with you. We did a live where she talked about a number of these different responses. It's nobody's business what you're doing, when you're doing, how you're doing it. Period. 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 Um, and then you need to decide whether you're in an emotional space or in a physical space that you're ready to tell that person, um, or whether I and tell them how their question was totally inappropriate, or whether you just
right.
offhandedly kind of mention it and then they have to presuppose, and you make them think a little bit. I think the other piece to this is there are some people in the world that no matter how many times you tell them that they're not saying something appropriate, that it's insensitive,
Yeah.
etc., they're never going to change. It's
No.
just, it's like not within their framework. They don't understand. Like, they don't want to hurt you. Like, let's be clear.
No,
Like,
they
I
mean
think most
well.
of these people, like, correct, they don't want to hurt you. And most of these people also are in the older generation. Like, let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
Usually, not
Yeah.
always, but usually. Okay, see? Mhm.
It's true.
Said not always, but usually. Um, and some people, there is a generational divide in terms of the sensitivity that we now talk about all kinds of things, right? We we talk about, and we're sensitive to people who are divorced, people who are single,
Yeah.
people who are in people who have cancer, people who don't have jobs, people who are abused. I like we could go on and on and on and on and on, right? Like
Hmm.
of all the things that people who are disabled or who have disabilities. Like I that's the same thing. Sorry, who have family members who have disabilities. I was like, I just literally said the same thing.
I didn't even
Um,
realize that.
I we we are better now as a society. We do hard things better. We are more sensitive in general about hard
Yeah.
things, and but there are some people who aren't, and you're not going to change them.
No.
So that's something that you just have to kind of like say, yeah, thanks, I'm gotta go.
Yeah.
I'm out.
I think they mean well. I really do. I think they mean well, and I think that if you set your boundary, they will eventually have to stop.
Right?
Right? You don't
Maybe,
think so?
maybe,
Maybe? Oh
maybe, maybe,
no.
maybe.
Gosh.
That's why I'm saying, like, I think there comes a point where you leave. Like
Right.
you're just like, I'm out. I need to leave this meal because I have a headache. I need to go take a walk. Oh, I forgot the store was closing. I'm sorry, I gotta go. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you just go
Yeah.
because it just doesn't work. Doesn't
It's
work.
easier that way, honestly.
Yeah,
It's easier than getting into the whole
totally.
conversation of it.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Um, so one second. There was one more question. Appointments over Pesach. What do you, I mean, this is just something I thought of.
Yeah.
What do you recommend for those who are A, as a community, how should they treat those going through treatments on Pesach and they have to, disappear? Let's say the man's not in shul,
Right.
because they're at an appointment.
Yep.
What else? As a
Yeah.
family, how to support them. It's really tricky because, I
Yeah.
forgot that a lot of times they have to do
Yeah.
monitoring or their
Retrievals. Yeah.
retrievals fall
Yeah.
out on Pesach.
Yeah. And I'm just going to even add a second or maybe third layer to this.
Yeah.
Um, the people who are like maybe it's a side piece, but it's important to bring up. Um, People are going through treatments, and lots of people are going through treatments, through Pesach, and a lot of these medications often cause people to be bloated, so that they think
Yes.
people presume that you're pregnant. And then there's the Bishat or people constantly staring and they're going, so how's everything going? Right? So I just want to, to all of the people who are here on this live and everyone who listens afterwards, number one, we don't look at people's stomachs. We said that already before,
No.
but we're saying it again.
Stop.
We do not look at people's stomachs.
And if
We
you
do
do,
not
don't say anything.
correct. We do not talk to people's stomachs.
Mm.
Um, and we don't comment on people's stomachs, and we don't comment on other people's stomachs of like, oh, I wonder if they're pregnant. Oh, did you see they're wearing that
Yes.
big? No,
No.
no, no,
Do
no,
not say any of
no.
it.
We don't have these conversations because so many people that you may know, like, what about the singles out there who might be going through egg freezing treatments, like, right? Like
Yeah.
fertility preservation, like people gain weight, people lose weight, people's bodies change over the course of life. Bodies are never things that we should be commenting on. And I just need to say that here because I've already gotten messages of the like, I have nothing to wear to the Seder's because everyone is going to think I'm pregnant because I'm so bloated. And so for here on out, please do not comment on people's bodies. Number one. Um, okay, but how to manage the different pieces of it? Um, I think again, it has to like we're making the presumption here that these are individuals and families that are with other family members. They're in a
Yeah.
community that and people are going to know that they're missing.
Yeah.
And so you have to have an ally in your family. You have to have someone who knows what's going on. One person, because that person can run interference for you. So so that's number one. I would urge everyone to have at least one person who knows. Um, shock trauma, bloated or not. Love that. Love it. Yeah, what about the constipation bloat? I'm like, we're all going to be looking
Right?
like
We're
we're
all
pregnant
gonna
by
be
the end of
looking like
this.
that.
Yeah, correct, totally. Um, so this is again like, you know, you can make up stories. You can like, oh, he had a headache. Oh, she wasn't feeling well. Oh, I didn't want him to leave me because I was worried I was going to throw up and is going to like not feel like make up your stories. Like
Yeah.
this is about privacy. You don't need to share with the world. I do think that there should be, and I said it right. Like I do think that there should be someone who does know, because if something goes wrong, God forbid, like, or you need extra support for whatever reason, like you want
Yeah.
someone to know. So I would say have that ally. But other than that, like I'm advocating lying. I am. I'm again not the
I'm
Rebbitzin,
advocating
not the
lying.
Rebbitzin, not the rabbi, not the Rebbitzin. I'm advocating lying because everyone doesn't need to know your business. You
Yeah.
don't, unless the people don't show up to shul for whatever reason. Okay, you didn't show up to shul either. Maybe you sprained your ankle and it was really hurting, and then like it miraculously felt better. You took some Advil, had
Yeah.
some ice, and it felt better the next day. Maybe that happened too. Like all those things can happen.
It's true. And find some sort of story to tell.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
advocating lying today.
Yes, we are advocating lying. And you are not asking any rabbis about us advocating lying.
No, no, no. Don't tell
Yeah, no,
anyone.
don't.
um, the last question is, what are some resources for those struggling that you can recommend? Obviously, you.
Thank you.
Are you available
Um,
on Pesach?
we well, obviously not on Yantif, but yes, I work every single day of the year. What I would say is that again, besides Shabbos and Yantif, um, I my breaks are that I don't post on social media. Generally speaking, I don't go on or post or do anything or go on stories on Motzei Shabbos or Motzei Yantif. Like that is my boundary for myself because I just need that time, but I'm always answering DMs. The minute Shabbos or Yantif
Wow.
is over, I'm answering DMs. So I'm on and I'm answering DMs, but I am not posting anything. Um, I work every single day because, as we know, there are no days off for fertility. There are no days
No.
off. There are people every single day of the year that are struggling. And so I my job is to run this organization, but I'm the one who sees all of the DMs. And I know because I was there too, that if somebody is reaching out, it means that they're struggling and they need an answer in a timely way. And I try my best. I say the maximum time is 24 hours that I get to someone. Sometimes it goes to 48, but that's the window that I set for myself of I'm going to answer every DM, God willing, between 24 and 48 hours. Sometimes it's faster. A lot of times it's faster, but I try my best to answer as fast as possible. And people can also email at any time. But okay, besides
You
us,
are
so
amazing.
that that
Wow.
is that is the I see as one of the primary pieces of the work that I do, making sure that people get answered in a timely way.
Yeah, it's
So, but okay,
not easy to reach out, so you're
correct.
amazing for
And I
doing
know, and so that's I remember. So, but besides us, Bonei Olam is amazing. They have incredible
it. Yeah.
resources. They have emotional support, medical support, financial support, etc. But so many of the other Jewish fertility organizations also
Yeah.
offer lots of support, phone support groups, in-person support groups, Zoom support groups. We offer those too. There are I mean, there are programs that people, many of the other fertility organizations have locally in your town, or they have online. Like, there are lots of us out there. Um, and I would say other resources, just generally speaking, and we mentioned it earlier, therapy, like
Perfect.
therapy, like
Yeah.
therapy, 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 therapy. And I'm going to say one more thing besides that, medication. And I mean psychiatric
Yes.
medication.
Yeah.
If
100%.
you are struggling, and let's call it what it is, anyone who is in this space is struggling.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, most people, many people need therapy, whether it's phone support, whether it's an individual therapist. So many people need therapy. Do not be ashamed to reach out for therapy. Do not be ashamed. If you need resources, if you want help finding a therapist, we as an organization, we maintain lists of therapists, but if we don't know someone in your area, we can send you out to other organizations that have people in their network. So therapy, 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 and support groups, support groups, support groups. But secondly, medication. There is no shame in
No
taking any kind of
shame in
medication
taking medication.
for anxiety, because this process is incredibly anxiety producing, for
Yeah.
depression, because if you're not getting pregnant in the time that you want, if you lose a baby, God forbid, I mean, depression is, that is what you are. That is the essence of your being. But some people have baseline anxiety. Some people have baseline
Yes.
depression. Some people have baseline other mental health challenges. And when you add on top of that any other fertility challenge, it just compounds it and makes it worse and worse and worse. There is no shame in medication. There are specific fertility psychiatrists out there. There are medications that are absolutely safe for you to take when you have treatments, when you're in the middle of
Yes.
treatments. There are
While
medications that
pregnant
are
also.
safe, that are safe for you to take when you're pregnant. If I can shout it to the world, please do not do this alone. There is so much out there to support you and to help you.
There is no reason to suffer through this if you can feel better while being on medication. There is no shame. I've been on it. I'm happy to
I have to.
let
I
people
have
know
to.
I have been
Yeah.
on it, and I went off of it. So, a lot of times people think that
Yeah.
it's forever. It's not forever. It doesn't have to be forever. It's
Correct.
sometimes just to help you cope during
Correct.
that time.
Absolutely.
And you're not supposed to be depressed. You're not supposed to be an anxious person.
Correct.
So a lot of times people think that medication changes you. It doesn't.
Okay, so now I'm actually going to tell you, I'm going to tell you a secret. It's not a secret anymore because now I'm sharing it. I'm sharing it with all of you. Um, it used to be, I love the way you said when we started this live that you were anxious. You were like, "Oh my God," or
Yeah.
whatever. And it's because you don't do them very often.
Right. It's true.
It used to be that when I started doing lives, like I was also crazy anxious. And also I will say, even to this day, whenever I do public speaking makes me anxious. I
Yeah.
always I always take a small dose of an anti-anxiety medicine whenever I'm public speaking, and also whenever in the beginning when I started doing Insta Lives. Now I don't do them, but I don't need them for Insta Lives anymore because I like do them so often it like doesn't affect me
Right.
anymore. But whenever I'm doing public speaking, I take medicine. And what it does is it actually makes me just feel like me. It's just me. And it's not the like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my
Yeah.
God, what am I going to say? And are they going to like me? And is it going to be good? And am I saying the right things? And it just makes me feel like me. And so I can give over the information in a way that is helpful and is like, what's the word? Help. That is the way it should be given over in the
Yeah.
regular way. And so, I mean, and I'm not ashamed of it. I mean, I don't know why I haven't shared it before, but like all of my friends know, my family knows, like I always take medication when I public speak. And so everyone out there should not be ashamed to take medication when they
No,
need it. Period.
do not.
Yeah.
Period. It's okay.
Yeah,
There is nothing wrong with being on medication. Yeah, we
definitely.
got to get rid of the shame that
Definitely.
that revolves around that.
Definitely.
It doesn't have to be there.
Definitely.
Well, Aimee, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I learned a lot. I'm sure everybody who was on here learned a lot. And I believe we are saving this if that's cool. And we will be leaving it on here for 24 hours, and then we'll probably record it and share bits and pieces of it. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Aimee, for being here. And hopefully we'll have you again soon. Yes, we will be.
This was my pleasure. I'm so glad we got a chance to do this.
Yeah.
You're doing incredible work with Bonei Olam, and you in your own life, sharing your story and doing all of this. I mean, it's really, really powerful and really important.
And so are you. And I'm really happy that we get to share you as a resource to all of those struggling. So you're huge. You guys, I've reached out to her and she's amazing. So do
No,
not,
please, everyone,
do
you know
not
where to
hesitate.
find me. Yeah. Do not hesitate. I answer everything myself. Reach out. Happy to help in whatever way we can. And Chag Kasher v'Sameach, everyone.
Chag kasher v'sameach. Bye. Have a good night.